Hi, this is Meg Heritage with Positivity in Practice, and today I am here talking with Michael Wheeler. He is the co-founder of Grady's Garden and Grady's Classroom. Hi, Mike.
Hello, good morning.
I am so happy to see you here. Thank you so much for accepting an invitation to tell us more about this fantastic. It's almost like in my reading on it, a little bit of a movement. It's certainly a business. It's a nonprofit, but it's also, I think, expanding our horizons into how we can do good things, make money, be sustainable, and have healthy kids and healthy grown-ups. So I would love to start because we met as strangers. Who are you? Like, what's your jam? What's a little bit of your
All
background?
right, let's first of all, pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Always excited and passionate to speak about Grady's Garden and Grady's Classroom. So, Mike Wheeler, I live in Grand Haven, originally from Detroit. First person in my family to go to college. Went to law school, practiced law for a very brief period of time, and then made a transition from law to traditional business, i.e., brand management. It's a long, circuitous route, but I ended up managing brands, category leading brands at Nestle, Keurig Dr. Pepper, Kerry, until I somewhat retired during COVID and relocated to Grand Haven to help my wife support her parents who live in West Olive, and then fell into the opportunity to create a passion of mine, which is to do well while doing good. And that's primarily what Grady's Garden is all about.
Okay, so let's start with what kind of attorney were you?
I was an assistant public defender at juvenile court in Cook County. I was
Let's
representing the
go.
indigent accused parents who allegedly abused or neglected their kids. And it was an incredible job. It sapped every ounce of my energy. As I look back on that experience, it was extremely emotional for me, but given the skills that I have now, I could have been a public defender for the rest of my life. So it's no chance or accident that I'm leveraging my corporate or business skills to give back to help kids. It's sort of like I've come full circle.
Oh my goodness, I love that so much. And I know you don't know this about me, but my first real job was I was a teacher in inner city Las Vegas, and then I taught 4 years of alternative ed and was very much involved in the juvenile detention class in or space, and had just taken the LSTAT and was planning to go and be an advocator for children's rights when I realized that I didn't have the switch where I could set it down and go home and be mentally okay. So I share that with you, and that I feel like my ability to earn money in the business spectrum allows me then to benefit back to the things that I love the most about our community, our kids, our schools. And those are the two places that the hills I'll die on are affordable housing and children's rights and advocacy. So your project is certainly in alignment with that. I want people to know, first of all, what are the products? What can I go into stores and buy right now that Grady's Garden is producing?
So we're a branded manufacturer of a line of pasta sauces and sauces. There's a couple of guardrails that we place around our products. No artificial flavors, no artificial colors, no added sugar. The sweetness comes from pureed carrots, and our sodium content, more likely than not, is about 30% less than our key competitors. So we have distribution at Meijer locations. Our salsas are at all 271 Meijer stores. The pasta sauces are in 11 supercenters. Both the pasta sauces and salsas are in all the Fresh Time stores in Michigan. I think there's 9 and 1 in Indiana. And we just picked up Jewel Osco, so this is new.
I love it.
So roughly 153 out of 188 units within the Jewel Osco franchise of grocery stores. So it's in Iowa, Indiana, and Illinois. So that begins in December. So we're just short of 500 stores in
So
terms
cool.
of distribution for a 2.5-year-old
And so
company.
fast. Yeah, it's so fast. Because I remember talking to you about this at Aldea when we met. Talking to strangers safely is what I tell people to do, so that you can meet great new friends and see, how you can, for me, be Christ's hands to serve like throughout the community. And, oh, you should know this person or that, or this is really interesting, or have you heard about this guy? But I have actually fed my children the products since we've met. And I was super impressed with the amount of, I love functional medicine. I truly believe in the mind body gut health experience. And the sugar content in most pasta sauces is through the roof. It's why we like it because there's ladles and ladles of sugar in it. The salsa is fantastic too. I had to go eat all the things before, we had an opportunity to sit down together. But now the idea that anybody can walk into a Meijer and not only do good things for your body, but do good things for kids that are not in at our dining table is so cool. Grady's classroom is a whole nother arm of this. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I just want to call out that there's another character who's intimately involved, co-founder Chad Miller, and he's my partner. Grady's Classroom, that's the 501c3. So a percentage of the net profits of Grady's Garden product sales are allocated or donated to Grady's Classroom. And Grady's Classroom, we go into schools, in particular schools with second and third graders, K through 6, as well as after-school programs, and we activate an educational curriculum. And the curriculum, or the fulcrum of the curriculum, is an animation show called Grady's Garden, which is the name of the company, and it chronicles the lives of 6 kids of color who decide to create an urban garden. Then we marry that animation content with educational modules on social emotional learning, general nutrition, and gardening. And we've activated with over 2,000 kids, primarily in Grand Rapids, but also in Lansing, Detroit. And we have functional sites in Idaho as well. And the data is quite compelling. It suggests upwards of a 37% increase in the child's willingness to try vegetables, and it's all evidence-based. It's led by one of the most renowned scientists on the nutrition or in the nutrition space to help us develop this approach. So it's all science-based, which is extremely exciting to us. And ultimately, that's what we want to do. We're not measured by the number of dollars we generate in terms of product sales. What we want to be remembered by is the number of kids potentially where we impact or change their dietary behavior, vegetable consumption, active lifestyles. And we do it all by advocating gardening.
Right.
So we've been very blessed that Amway has been a tremendous sponsor.
Oh, I love that.
Then we've got this foundation out of the Ozarks in Missouri that has generously donated a sizable amount of money to help us build gardens across America. So that just came out of the blue. So God is good. We feel very blessed. Yep.
What's Chad's background?
Chad is a senior vice president of business development at Zeta Global. It's a public company, tremendously savvy in terms of sales, very creative, and he negotiates with some of the bigger players in America. So that's what he brings to the table in terms of helping us negotiate with retailers and strategic partnerships. Like, for example, the Boys and Girls Clubs. There have been ongoing discussions there, trying
So
to
cool.
bring that home. Yeah, so he's got a great background. We complement one another well.
How did you guys meet?
We met in Beloit, Wisconsin. So he's a big benefactor of the Beloit High School music program, and my wife, Susan Pickings, a singer-songwriter. So we were at a function, and we just started chatting, and that spawned a friendship that lasted for about 2 years. And we were sitting down in Bushel and Peck. It's a local diner in Beloit, and I was chatting with him about my dispassion for my current life situation. I was excited to potentially do something different where I could give back.
Mm-hmm.
And we started distilling, okay, what are some of the major problems with kids in America today? And the one thing we universally said was a major issue was childhood obesity, food insecurity, and
Yeah.
nutrition insecurity. And then when we distilled down even deeper than that, the key insight was, well, given these potential maladies, they all impact a child's self-esteem. So the first name of Grady's Classroom was the Self-Esteem Project, but for brand alliteration purposes, we transitioned the
Sure.
Self-Esteem Project to Grady's Classroom. And then we started chatting, and next thing you know, we said, well, how can we do it? And we said, well, why don't we have a novel approach where we can leverage what's called edutainment, where it's entertainment as well as educational materials. And Nestle USA was based in Los Angeles. I spent 8 or 9 years there when I was working with Nestle. So it was a tremendous connection I had with the entertainment industry. So made a couple of calls and discovered or reconnected with Evan Gore, executive producer of Grady's Garden, show creator, show writer. And then we went on a world tour or U.S. tour, meeting with professors in nutrition science. And we're just trying to understand, okay, we're going to create a show to educate and excite kids. What should the show be about? And the critical insight was the kids who are involved in gardening, they tend to eat more vegetables and to lead more active lifestyles. So Evan took that as a cue. Okay, we've got to come up with a show about gardening. And we had quite a few people involved, thought leaders, people who were into community gardening, not only in Detroit, but Denver, Los Angeles, Atlanta, a multitude of professors who weighed in terms of what were some of their findings. And then we landed on Grady's Garden, and Chad came up with the concept of Mr. Rogers meets Fat Albert. So that's some of the thinking that went behind Grady's Garden, the creation of the show. So really excited about it. It's been picked up by a PBS affiliate in Norfolk, Virginia. So there's over 300 affiliates. So it's the beginning. So we've been greenlit for 13 episodes.
What's the best way for a listener to this show to watch?
Oh, great question. So GRTV every Tuesday and Thursday at 3:45. And we just recently created our first 30-minute episode, which is the equivalent of 22 minutes. And that episode led to the creation of, I think, 8 new modules, educational modules. So we have a sufficient number of modules where a school or after-school program can activate 1 module a month and teach the curriculum on an annual basis, a school year basis. If you want to watch the full episode, I'm more than happy to share it to you.
I love that. I would love you if you gave me
sure.
the link to it and we could drop it underneath this. So just as a former educator with a graduate degree in education, the kinesthetic with the audio, with the visual, all of that coming together, I think it's just such a beneficial way for kids to be able to learn when they can move their bodies inside of a garden. They can eat something that they helped produce, or they can understand what's actually going into
sure.
their body. Mm-hmm. And from an Ayurvedic sense, I've studied a lot in that space. Just when I talk to people who are stressed out, not feeling good inside of their body, if you generally look back and you go, what were your last 72 hours like? Like, were you with people and surrounded by positive energy? Did you put good food in your body? Have you hydrated yourself? Did you get good sleep? Were you out moving in nature or something like that? I think if we were able to start kids out earlier, knowing that we have these tools, almost all of which are free. But I want to know, how big of a barrier do you see as socioeconomics in people being able to get, garden food or the kind of product that you're producing? What I noticed was when I look at the nutritional content on the back of that, I don't need to give my kids broccoli on the side or something like that because there's so much going on inside of your product. But I've always been afraid, since I taught alternative ed, that if someone can go out and get a chicken burger for $1 and, all of these cheap standard American diet items, how do we work to create a shift in that when they're small? How does that work inside of this curriculum that you've got? Are you talking about that?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we want families to buy fresh produce or garden, right? And as it relates to the products, the unit economics didn't make sense. When we originally started Grady's Garden and we came up with the concept of the food subsidizes the Grady's Classroom nonprofit mission, our objective or our goal was in Tier 1 communities or Tier 1 schools that we would like to make the product available at an acceptable unit price at retail. The unit economics just didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. The products are extremely premium in terms of taste. They're savory and obviously not sweet, and they're nutritious. So that led us to the strategy, hey, we're going to sell this at a premium price, and then we will transition those margin dollars to Grady's Classroom. And on occasion, we will make the products available to the communities that we specifically want to serve, urban and rural communities. Any place where there's nutrition insecurity and food insecurity, we should be there. But by and large, we want to advocate gardening. And there's a couple things going on that at some point, maybe when I come back, I can speak to you about as it relates to technology and strategic partnerships with retailers of how we can make this happen, where we can advocate nutritious eating, i.e. food made from scratch and its fresh produce, whether purchased at a local retailer or grown in the backyard. It's a long process because in certain communities you don't have an abundance of property or space available for families to engage in gardening. But if we can start in schools, especially with second and third graders, that's the sweet spot for us in terms of getting kids to at least be more amenable to trying vegetables. When you aggregate that out over a child's life up to 18, 19 years, we all know what's at the end of the day. There's morbidities like hypertension, diabetes,
yeah.
and obviously childhood obesity. So if you can get kids to start eating vegetables, even if they are willing to eat it occasionally, but you can dismantle the aversion, then kids longer term should have a better future. So we're looking at small wins at this juncture. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. And we haven't talked about cost at all. So I know every retailer might be a little bit different, but it's between a jar of your pasta sauce is how much?
At Meijer, it's $5.99. At Fresh Time is $6.47. So it's a premiumly priced product. It's just below super premium. So when we formulate our products and we cut with competitors, our critical competitor is Rayo's and Carbone's, and they are super premium. But we compete or compare favorably with them in terms of taste. I do know food, given my experience, and then we have a great R&D team, and then we've also partnered with the Sekia School of Culinary Arts because when you formulate products, you need the science and you need the culinary. And the culinary, they provide the ears and eyes in terms of the trends and the taste profiles of consumers on the street. And when you balance them out, you usually have a very sweet offering in terms of targeting consumers. So net, our products are premium. We can command a premium price. We could arguably charge more given the other aspects of our business, the technology, the nonprofit, but I think we're at a good price point.
I do too, and I've paid more for Rouse. I know I have, and that was what I used before I learned about you. And so I'm just gonna say, when we are consumers and we only have XYZ amount of dollars, I'm just gonna ask people to go out and buy Grady's Garden and give it a try and feel good not only about what you're putting in your body, but what you're putting out into the universe. And these other components, I don't know much about Rouse, but I don't think that they're running classroom gardens and they're doing all these other nonprofit side of things. So for me, if I know that I can do good while I'm doing something that I'm already going to do, it's just such an absolute win-win. And I want to say thank you because I know you're busy and I know you're running to pick up product and do all these other things. We're going to link some things underneath this. If you have questions at all for Michael or Chad, his partner, or what's happening, or I love the idea that somebody out there wants to benefact back into this, or this is something that speaks to their hearts, whether you're a functional medicine doctor or you're somebody who's in concierge medicine and recognizes that how we start is usually how we end. And if we could start younger in the food scarcity space, in the growing our own food space, in the eliminating some of these things that children should never have to deal with and should have available to them, as should, grown-ups. I ask that you dig into this company and you take a look at it and you do everything that you can in order to support them as they grow. So thank you. I'm so glad that I don't even know why I started chatting with you at Aldea or you started chatting with me, but you're so interesting and you're so kind, and I just love what you're doing on all facets. So thank you, counselor.
Yep. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.